Hey everyone, it is Hunter Fireflower, and in today's episode, I'll be doing a summary of Dawn of the Jedi, Prisoner of Bogan, and this one is the first one in this comic volume. There's 5 comics in total. So in this comic, we're going to see what Daegon Lok has in plan for Xesh, and what their actual plan is. Are they going to leave Bogan? Are they going to try and kill all the Jihadi? We don't know. We'll find out in this comic. So without further ado, let's begin. The star of the comic, we are on the planet Biss, and we're over here with the Rakata Palace, I guess you'd want to call it that. And we have sek'nos over here. He is this orangey color Rakata, and he is just force pushing around Trill. She is the Force Hound that we see in the red. And sek'nos is very, very upset because apparently Tulkar, who was the bluish-green Rakata we saw in the first volume, he was the one that was going to Typhon to wipe them out with Xesh. He apparently disabled some type of tracking beacon so the actual Rakata Empire cannot actually track him to exactly where he's going, and since the ship exploded and we don't know what happened to him, well, we do, but sek'nos doesn't know, he is so upset because he believes that Tulkar is trying to undermine him by having a major victory, and basically thinks that Tulkar is trying to take his place. So he's over here beating up Trill, asking her where Xesh is, where did they go, and he's like, you have to find them for me if you want to live. Trill then tells sek'nos that she'll be able to track Xesh using their brood bond, and the brood bond is basically this bond they formed as they were growing up in the Rakatan Empire, and she basically tells sek'nos that she's going to find Xesh, and then eventually if she can find Xesh, then sek'nos will have Typhon, and he will take the victory instead of Tulkar. We then see Xesh on Bogan, and he's just pondering the dark side, and he's thinking that, you know, when he was in the Rakata Empire, he only thought about the dark side, but the Jihadi also teaching the light, which is foreign to him, so he's trying to focus and trying to find balance in the Force. So I believe we're going to have some type of redemption story with Xesh, because he wants to live in the light, but he's finding difficulty finding it. And we see him here meditating in front of the temple. These, not really temples, they're actually cities, because apparently the non-Force users were first sent to Bogan and Ashla, and then once they got better spaceships, they then traveled throughout the entire Typhon system. So this whole temple city thing are just remains of the non-Force user settlement. And then Xesh has a vision of his past that we see down here. There's a bunch of people, all these children, all cuddled together, and you can tell that they're very scared. And then he talks about this girl, who we assume is Trill, and Trill was his protector and guardian while he was growing up in the Rakatan Empire. We then get a little reminder of Xesh's backstory, where once he was old enough, he was put in this case, and they basically shocked him and made him scream with all of this lightning, and his anger fueled the Rakatan ships, and then eventually Tulkar took notice of Xesh's abilities with the Force and his anger and everything, and then took him as a Force Hound. And then we see him as the Force Hound enslaving people with the Rakata at his side. And he feels anger because at this point he was a slave. He always thought that he wasn't a slave, but now that he's freed from them, he is now a free man. And then we get a little summary of what happened in the previous volume, where how the ship exploded when the Rakata went. And then eventually he sees Shae over here as this light. He's drawn to her because he has only experienced dark force energies. And then Xesh sees Shae, and she's emulating with light side force energy, and he's drawn to her and doesn't decide to kill her in the end because he can't let her die. He has to see this light survive. He's drawn to Shae's light side energies, and I have a feeling they're going to get together maybe later in the comic. He then talks about how he was captured and then put into exile on Bogan, and now he considers himself kind of a slave again, and he wants to be set free. And then we see, I guess you would call this droid a guard droid, and he just tells Xesh that, hey, there's a new supply ship coming down with more supplies for food. And then Xesh goes into his little home where he reflects upon himself, and he's just sitting here wondering, the Jihadis sent him to find balance in the Force, but he's kind of contemplating, like, he's no longer a slave to Rakata, but is he a slave to the Jihadi now? What is he? What is his destiny? You can kind of feel that he longs to have a purpose, but he doesn't really have a purpose at this moment. He feels very alienated, and he feels strange because he was raised in an environment where he was always told what to do by the Rakata, and he's so used to taking orders that now that he has all this free time and no one to tell him what to do or whatever, he feels like he is lost. And then we see Daegon Lok. Daegon Lok is the fallen apprentice of Quan Jang. He is one of the Jedi Masters that we saw in the first volume, and he's over here attacking Xesh, and he's telling Xesh to defend himself, like, what are you, weak boy? And Xesh is just like, what? Leave me alone. And then eventually Xesh gets the upper hand, and he has Daegon against the wall, and then Daegon asks him, tell me why you are here, and tell me why did I see you in my vision? And then Daegon Lok is like, why do you have those tattoos? And apparently the tattoos are to signify that they are Force Hounds, and apparently Force Hounds have tattoos all over their body just in case they end up being eaten or whatever. And if you have one body part, you can find the rest. Daegon Lok then uses the Force and takes off the wrist guards, and then Xesh is like, oh, wouldn't they know? And Daegon Lok just tells him, oh, no, you'll be fine. They'll think we're still here, but they're not. And then apparently, if you have the cuffs on, you are only permitted on certain locations on Bogan so that you don't start fighting with other prisoners. We then go to Typhon, to Stav Kesh, which is one of the Jedi temples where they focus on martial arts, and we see Master Tave dueling Shae, sek'nos, and Tasha in this middle panel, and they're talking about fighting and how you always have to predict where the next strike is going to be, and they're all, practicing their martial arts skill, and then eventually the Master, of course, overcomes the Journeyers, and then the Master says, you guys are predictable, you guys are too easy, your mind wanders on other things, and you're thinking about anger and Xesh and everything. If you keep thinking about, all those angry things, you're going to be sent to Bogan. And then Shae confronts the Master saying, we have this vision of Xesh, you guys aren't taking us serious, something is going to happen. And then we see Tasha over here, she's talking to the Master saying, Xesh was out of balance, but it wasn't his choice. We could have brought him to the light side, basically saying what happened at the end of the last volume, where the Journeyers are still trying to convince the Masters to have Xesh come on Typhon because they believe they can turn him to the light side and make him more balanced. The Master then goes on to say, oh yeah, we kind of listened to you guys and you guys had your vision, but he kind of just brushes them off and is like, oh, you guys will understand when you're masters, get out of here, type thing. And then he just tells them, we're not ignoring you guys, your visions or whatever, just go back to training, which the masters are just trying to ignore these three because they don't want anything to happen to Xesh. They think that he'll be fine on Bogan, but our journeyers know that something is going to happen. We then see Master Rajivari. He was a general in the Depot Wars, and he was one of the main, I guess you would call him one of the main Jedi Masters during the Depot Wars, and he put down his sword after the Depot Wars, and now he just sits and meditates on the Force. He was the master of Master Katu, who you see in this middle panel here. He was one of the masters that we saw in Volume 1. So apparently Master Katu came to Rajivari to ask him for wisdom. Apparently he also went to Rajivari when Daegon Lok was having his visions. So Rajivari is one of these Jedi Masters that you go to whenever you seek help. Master Katu and Rajivari have a little talk about the visions of Daegon Lok, as well as our journeyers. Rajivari says, both visions had this master blade, this force blade in them, maybe they're linked. And Katu's like, just because they had a vision doesn't mean that, they had a shared vision doesn't mean it's true. And Rajivari just tells them, the Force lets us to see glimpses of what might possibly be the future. We're the ones that have to determine if that future is going to happen, what we're actually going to do about it. And then Katu just retorts and says, Daegon Lok went mad, it means nothing. And then Rajivari's like, you're not going to listen to me. I've told you many times in the past. Rajivari basically tells Katu that he's going to be a lesser Jihadi master if he doesn't listen to his instincts and the Force. So Rajivari, after hearing all this, is kind of assuming that something is going to happen and that the master should listen to the journeyers, but the current masters are just not going to do that, and they're going to do their own thing. And then as Katu is leaving, Rajivari tells him, Daegon Lok's vision might be linked with the journeyers, and he is suspecting that war is going to happen. We then see Daegon Lok with Xesh, and Daegon is showing him this old space fighter that was from the Depot Wars that he plans to use to get off Bogan, and he tells Xesh that he had this vision, Force vision, that basically told him his entire destiny. And then we get a flashback to what his vision actually was. And then he tells Xesh that there was this chasm, as we know, the Abyss of Ru or Ra, whatever. The Masters told Daegon Lok that, you'll go mad if you go down there. Don't do it. But Daegon Lok likes a challenge. He just got back from fighting the Depot Wars. He believes he's untouchable. He believes that he might be this almighty Jihadi. The chasm won't make him go mad. So he takes it as a challenge. We have Daegon Lok here as a young man with Hawk Ro, and they're going down the chasm. getting these readings, and Daegon Lok's just saying, oh, let's go further, and Hawk is starting to warn him, and eventually they see this vision into the void. As Daegon Lok's going crazy with his vision, Hawk is trying to pull him out and get him out of the chasm. Daegon Lok then tells the council about what he saw down there, and the council told him that he was crazy, and then they exiled him to Bogan. We then see that Daegon Lok, on the walls of his little cave thing with the spaceship, he drew a force saber. And Xesh is drawn to it because he's like, wait a second, this looks like mine. And Daegon Lok's, you know this weapon, you've seen this weapon, can you make this weapon? And Xesh tells him, yeah, I know how to make the force saber, I'll help you. And then Xesh basically saying that he'll make the force saber just confirms to Daegon Lok that this is destiny, his destiny. The vision that he saw down in the chasm was his destiny, and he believes it's being fulfilled, and it makes him even more crazy. Xesh then tells Daegon that he needs to have a crystal and needs to have a hilt made, and Daegon's like, yeah, we can get you all the materials, so they're going to go to a few planets in the Typhon system to collect all these materials. But the ship won't run because the ion packs are dead and the ship just won't start, so Xesh uses the Force, and he does his little lightning to charge the ion packs. And then the ship turns on, of course. And then we see Xesh over here struggling to charge the ion packs. It's making him sweat, he's getting tired, and we have all these Mindhawks attacking the ship because they're getting drawn to all of the energy and everything, and Daegon Lok is over here trying to, take off. Daegon Lok then tells Xesh to stop, that he's going to overpower the cells, and if he does that, they're never going to get off, and then Xesh kind of pulls him away and says, don't you ever stop me when I'm in the middle of my force powers, and he's like, you'll never understand what my powers are, and we can already see that there's going to be tensions growing in between them. I mean, they're both darkside users, so they're going to be kind of like conflicting personalities going on. Daegon Lok then thinks to himself that Xesh is crazy, and he should literally just kill him, but since Xesh is part of his vision, he kind of wants to have Xesh fulfill his vision and fulfill Daegon Lok's destiny, and then he's planning on maybe killing him when Xesh becomes a problem later on. He doesn't exactly say that, but I'm kind of getting the vibe that if Xesh gets in his way, he's willing to take him out just to fulfill his vision, and then we see them blasting off Bogan. Hey everyone, so that's it for this video. If you liked the video, please leave a like and a comment of what you liked about the video. If you want to see more content similar to this, please check out my channel. I have different playlists with different things that are canon and legends, so if you like canon and legends, go check those out. I have Darth Vader comics up there, Kylo Ren, and I'm going to be making a Thrawn video soon. So look out for those videos. But that's about it for this video. I hope you guys like it, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay frosty.